Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first installment of Plymouth Whitemarsh Football. I am Brian Rosenfeld, joined along by Scott Kitai. Tonight we have the Plymouth Whitemarsh Colonials against the Upper Merion Vikings. And how you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing good, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So what do you like to see from this PW team on their first game of the season?
Well, from PW, we're going to see what we always see, and that's great rushing. James Scott, Dan Kelly, Craig Quinn, all back from last year. All were very productive last year. And again, this year, another big key is going to be at quarterback with Paul Kupfer. But the Colonials have shown each of the last two seasons they have been able to win with new quarterbacks.
And from Upper Merion, what do you expect?
Well, I expect a tough game from Upper Merion, too. Last season, PW went to their place on opening night and shut them out. And Upper Merion surely does not want that to happen to them this year.
Okay, kicking off will be Matt Fowl for the Colonials. So PW will be on defense first. Their defense are the defensive ends Dan Kelly and Stu Kupfer. The defensive tackles are Chuck Tornetta and Brian Dugas. Linebackers are Mike Cho, Matt Kincaid, Tim Fleming, and Craig Quinn. Cornerbacks are CJ Scalfini and James Scott. And the safeties is Steve Whitman. For Upper Merion, their offense, quarterback Carmen Desmond. Running backs Pete Paul, Eric Johnson, and Gary Law. Tight end is Steve Biddle. The right guard is Brian Nuski. Right tackle is Chris Smith. Center is Pat DeRustato. Left tackle is Andrew Kupiak. Left guard is David Lukey, and the receiver is Steven Elser. And we're underway.
And Fold's first kickoff goes to Eric Johnson, their top player. Johnson's trying to look for a running room, and he's wrapped up by the Colonials down around the 22-yard line. And that's where Upper Merion's going to start.
Mike Cho making the tackle on that first kickoff.
And we know the Colonials' offense can produce. Let's see what their defense can do right off the bat. Year after year, it seems like they come in and they're just a sack machine.
Yeah, they have a great defensive line this year. As we said, it's Dan Kelly and Stu Kupfer who led the team in sacks for the past 2 seasons, and Chuck Tornetta and Brian Dugas in the middle. And they're just great run stoppers. I mean, what can you say about that?
And they have Carmen Desimone as their quarterback. Pete Paul right behind him. Desimone's looking to pass. He's rolling out, and he's tackled by Stu Kupfer. Don't know if he got him for a sack. It's pretty close to the line of scrimmage.
Stu Kupfer just an animal right now. He's playing probably the best football he's ever played in his life. And I don't think Desmond got anything. I think he got tackled right on the line of scrimmage. So you can't consider that a sack for Kupfer. We'll just consider it a tackle.
Either way, it's a 2nd and long, and Coach Yock said before the game he wants to get Upper Merion into a lot of passing situations, especially with the linebackers that they have who are able to just blitz right through the defensive lines.
Linebackers are very quick this year. I know Matt Kincaid and Tim Fleming are both on the track team, so pretty quick set of linebackers. Mike Cho, no slouch himself.
Desimone gives to Johnson. Johnson's looking for a running room. He's got a hole, and he takes it all the way out to the 38-yard line. That's going to be a gain of 15 and a first down.
Tackled by Whitman and Scalfini. Johnson just made right through that line of Tornetta and Dugas. We can't let that happen, or Johnson's going to run away with this game very quick. You saw very good on his feet. They've got to stop the run early here.
Eric Johnson was the 2nd leading rusher on Upper Merion last season with 565 yards. But the more important thing is he averaged more than 10 yards a carry.
That's an amazing average for an entire season. A lot of pro players can't even average that.
Gary Law in motion. This give goes up to the fullback right up the middle, and it takes 4 Colonial tacklers to bring down Pete Paul until he gains 7 yards.
Colonial's got to stop this running game. It's going to be a big key. CJ Scalfini making the tackle on that run on Pete Paul.
Colonials have lost some big bodies in the middle of their defensive line, so hopefully the replacements this year will be able to step it up, but also it's the first drive of the season, so you're going to be a little rusty, not in your best game form.
2nd and 3, ball on the 46-yard line.
Paul and Johnson are behind Desimone. Give goes to Johnson, and Johnson is stopped by Chuck Tornetta.
Chuck Tornetta, an animal. I was talking to his mother earlier today. She said he's up to around about 260 pounds, which is huge for a high school football player. But he's got to be big because he has to make up for a big notable loss in Kevin Gall, who went off to college this year, playing up at Kutztown University. And Tornetta's got to make up for a lot of tackles that Gall made last year, and he most likely will do a very good job of that.
Oh, definitely. We already saw in that play he just pulled down Eric Johnson for no gain. And that brings up a 3rd and 3 for Upper Merion from their own 46-yard line.
9:20 left to go in the first quarter.
Desimone rolls out to his right, and he is stopped by 3 Colonial tacklers, and Tim Fleming leading the way.
Tim Fleming, Stu Kupfer, and number 21, Matt Kincaid, up to make that gang tackle on Desmond.
Now, one thing you need to know about Carmen Desmond was that last year he played running back for Upper Merion, so he will do a lot of rollout, a lot of play action. And just like Dan Ellis, the quarterback the Colonials saw at the end of their season last year, it can be very dangerous when a quarterback can roll out as effectively as Desmond can.
But one thing that is not good, he doesn't have experience passing the ball. And as you see, he doesn't have a completion yet, but then again, it's only the first drive.
Doesn't have an attempt either.
That too.
Craig Quinn back to receive this punt. Punt is not able to be handled by Upper Merion, and this is going to give the Colonials great field position as Anthony Palmieri can't do anything with it.
CJ Scalfini applying the pressure and eventually making the tackle. That's just probably a case of the ball being wet from the ground. It did rain earlier before the game. Pretty big downpour, so the field's probably wet, the balls are probably all wet. Or it could just be pregame jitters.
Whatever the case is, it was a turnover, and turnovers can kill you.
Walking down the field, number 11, Paul Kupfer, the junior quarterback, his first year on varsity at quarterback. Let's see what Paul can do. It's going to be a coming out game, hopefully, for him.
And with James Scott, Dan Kelly, and Craig Quinn behind him, as well as Jeff Brown split out to the left.
And his brother at tight end. That's a great combination. There you see Kupfer on your screen, number 11.
Kupfer's giving it off to James Scott. Scott looking for running room on the outside. Gets around one tackler, moves back up the sidelines, fumbles the ball out of bounds. So James Scott, after some slicing and dicing on the sideline, we'll see where the ref spots it.
James Scott could have the quickest feet that I have ever seen in my entire life. He is so quick that, I mean, once he gets into the open field, he's gone.
Well, he got 11 yards on that play somehow after it seemed like he was going to be wrapped up in the backfield.
Probably with the fumble.
And I can't remember a game last season when James Scott didn't have a 40 or 50-yard touchdown run.
Last year, he had 96 carries for 686 yards, an average of 7.15 yards per carry.
Colonials now have a 1st and 10 from the Upper Merion 22. Kupfer gives once again to Scott. Scott looking for running room up the middle. He gets down to around the 18 and picks up 4.
James Scott can take it to the outside and break it open, or he can just go right through the middle and barrel through opposing defensive lines. That's what's so versatile about him. Yet he can also catch the ball if he has to go out into the flat.
Definitely, and most of these Colonial backs are all-purpose backs. They can catch the ball as well as run, and we'll see when Paul Kupfer decides to go to the air for the first time.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see him pass, see how he can handle this varsity pressure. So far, he's doing good just handing the ball off. No botched plays.
Jeff Brown still out to the left. This time the give goes to big Craig Quinn, and Quinn bursts up the middle. And Quinn's up, and Quinn's in the end zone for a touchdown. An 18-yard touchdown run for Craig Quinn. He's big, he's powerful, and he's got quickness.
I thought he was going to be tackled there, but Craig Quinn is so strong. He just breaks through opposing tacklers and just scores. That's a great play, great elusiveness by Craig Quinn.
And Craig Quinn, a great 18-yard touchdown run there. That's 2 broken tackles that have really cost Upper Merion. The first one, which was missed on James Scott, which ended up in an 11-yard run for a 1st down. And now that 18-yard touchdown run by Craig Quinn.
Great play by Quinn. So far, Paul Kupfer has not had to go to the air yet. And Matt Fold will be on to attempt the extra point. This is Matt's first year on the football team. He was a soccer player up until this point, now making the change from soccer to football. And we'll see how he can do on this. I hear he has a really big foot though, Scott. I mean, I hear he's just really powerful.
He tells me he can get about 40, 45 yards.
Whew. That's longer than any other PW kicker has ever been able to do.
But the snap's botched. Fold picks it up. And
there's nothing Matt can do about that. Paul Kupfer just couldn't get the handle on the ball.
And so both teams with a turnover early on, but the Upper Merion turnover proves to be much more costly as the Colonials still have a 6-0 lead.
You have to give a lot of that credit on Craig Quinn's touchdown, besides Craig's looseness, to the PW offensive line, opening up holes so Craig could get through and get to the end zone for that touchdown.
Oh, definitely. And with these runners such as Quinn and Scott, they only need a little bit of running room. And these offensive linemen are definitely capable of doing much more than that.
A lot of linemen playing both ways tonight. Chuck Tornetta, B.J. Murray, Sean Beard at center, Steve Miller and Brian Dugas on his other side. That's a pretty big offensive line, and they just open up holes for James Scott to run through, as well as Dan Kelly and Craig Quinn.
Now we'll see if Upper Merion can get anything going.
Let's take a look at Craig Quinn's touchdown run on this instant replay. There you see Craig Quinn just breaking right through. Breaks one tackle, breaks a second tackle, and just traipses right into the end zone for a touchdown. Great run by Craig Quinn. Broke 2 tackles there instead of just 1.
Matt Fold getting ready to kick off to Gary Law and Eric Johnson, who are back around their own 6-yard line.
Let's see if Fold can get a good kickoff here. He had a good one on the opening kickoff of the game. Let's see if he can be consistent. That's one thing PW has had trouble with in the past is the punting and field goal and extra point kicking. But hopefully Fold will not have that problem as he did last year.
A low kick for Fold. And it bounces out of bounds. And that's going to be a legal procedure on the Colonials. And Upper Merion's going to have good starting field position.
To start at their own 35-yard line. Very good field position. Let's see how Desmond can handle this one.
He still has yet to attempt a pass. And he's tried a couple times. He's rolled out to his left once and his right once. He's just been unable to avoid the PW defense.
Plymouth-Marsh's defense has got his back out on the field. This is going to be a long game for a lot of their defensive players. As I said, a bunch of them playing both ways, including all 3 of the running backs, Kelly, Scott, and Quinn. It's going to be tough for them to make it the whole game.
This give goes to Gary Law. Gary Law is stopped by Chuck Tornetta for a loss of 3.
My God, Chuck Tornetta just breaks through opposing offensive line like it's a hot knife through butter. It's a great person to watch on the football field.
Chuck Tornetta's had a couple of huge defensive stops already. And we'll see what Upper Merion can do.
Kid's only a junior as well. Got another year here for PW. Already getting the college recruiting letters from what I hear.
As is Stu Kupfer.
Stu, the senior, will be heading off to college next year. Going to be a tough decision for him.
Desimone tries to give to Law, and then there's a reverse. But unfortunately, Eric Johnson ran into his own man as well as a couple Colonial tacklers, and they lose 2 more. So it's now going to be 3rd and 15.
Tackle by Kincaid and C.J. Scalfini. Scalfini coming all the way back up from the secondary to make make one of those tackles.
These are the situations Coach Yock wanted his defense to be able to get Upper Merion in. And now I think Desimone's going to have to throw the ball, or at least try. I'd
like to see a passing play from Upper Merion. I'd like to see how the PW defense can handle it. They did lose 2 great cornerbacks in Vinny Keyser and Lee Scott, who went off to college this year. So let's see how the secondary can handle it. Most likely it will be a pass, as Scott said.
However, James Scott and C.J. Scalfini are not too shabby themselves in the backfield.
And Steve Whitman at the safety, also not too shabby.
Desimone's going to give to Johnson. Johnson looks for running room. And for the Colonials, the stop is made by Tim Fleming.
Fleming coming up from the middle linebacker spot.
Johnson gets about 2.5 yards on the play.
And they're going to have to punt. And looks like Craig Quinn will be back to take the punt for the run back for the Colonials.
Punting for Upper Merion is Anthony Palmieri, and we'll see if he can get one off this time. And I'm sure with your first punt of the season, not being able to handle it, it has a mental effect on you as well.
It's got to be not good for Palmieri.
Here's a snap. Palmieri is able to handle that. James Scott almost gets in there to block it. Craig Quinn's got to go back. And it takes a good Upper Merion bounce, but the Upper Merion player, Law, just falls down, and Craig Quinn's able to pick it up and take it to the 27.
Picked up about 10 yards on that botched play by Law. That's 2 botched plays that's costed Upper Merion so far. One was a turnover, and this one was Law just tripping over his own 2 feet.
All Law had to do was down the ball, and the Colonials would have been pinned inside their own 20. But in any event, that's still a very good punt based on the field position Upper Merion had.
Yeah, nice punt. Paul Kupfer comes back out to anchor the Colonials one more time on their second drive. Paul Kupfer still has not attempted a pass. We are waiting to see that. We'd like to see how Kupfer can handle the pressure.
I'd like to see a Kupfer connection.
So would I. I'm sure we'll see many of them.
That pass goes outside to Craig Quinn. Quinn tries to break through tacklers, and he does, and picks up a first down and 12 yards.
He is so strong. You have to wrap him up with at least 2 tacklers there. I mean, one linebacker is not going to be able to stop Craig Quinn. He's just so strong right about now. He's also a wrestler, so that
used to getting away from people and breaking away out of holds.
And there was Kupfer's first pass. I mean, it wasn't a long one. It was a short one. That's what you got to do to get the yards. I mean, Quinn picked up 11 yards on that play.
But with these Colonial receivers and running backs, if they just catch the ball in the flat, they're off to the races almost. Just like you saw there with Craig Quinn, James Scott can do the same thing.
And they also have the long ball threat with his brother Stu Kupfer at tight end.
And Stu also, if he catches the ball 10 yards upfield, he's so big he can just run through people because these cornerbacks, imagine Stu Kupfer going up against someone the size of James Scott.
Yeah, Stu Kupfer 6'3", 230, which I think is a little bit light for Stu. Probably somewhere around there.
And some of these Upper Merion corners, the punter, Palmieri, he's not on on the other side of the roster. He's 5'10", 180.
Yeah, Kupfer just towers over him, and he also outweighs him by a good 40 pounds.
And Dan Kelly gets nothing up the middle on his first carry of the game. And it's going to be 2nd and 10 for PW.
This is going to be the first PW two-year starting quarterback since Anthony Tornetta, who started 2 years ago for the 2 and 3 years ago for the Colonials. Paul Kupfer was just basically thrown into the situation. The quarterback was likely to be his brother, Stu, but then Stu was outstanding year at tight end last year. So
Stu's too valuable at that tight end position. Kupfer gives to Craig Quinn, and Quinn gets away from a couple of tacklers and picks up about 3.
Nice spin move by Quinn. Take away from tacklers. I thought he was going to be wrapped up and thrown down, but as we said, that does not happen easily with Craig Quinn.
No, it took 3 Upper Merion players to get him. Now this is a passing situation with 3:35 left in the first quarter. 3rd down and 7.
Ball on the 41.
And we'll see what Coach Yak pulls out of the playbook here.
Colonial is running the wing T offense, which is a mainly running offense, and you can't blame them with the core of running backs they've had over the past 4 or 5 years.
Jeff Brown, the wide out to the right. It's a reverse to James Scott up the middle, and James Scott's got some running room, does a stutter step, and picks up the first down with a gain of 9. They took one right out of the Upper Merion playbook. Just for this time it worked.
Yeah, nice run there by James Scott to pick up about 8 yards. Little stutter step, as Scott said at the end. Didn't help him much, but that's just the way James runs, and you can't blame him. He's a great runner.
James Scott went to states in the 200-yard dash. So that just shows some of the quickness he has.
Came in 5th place out of the entire Pennsylvania Quad A district. Kupfer bringing the team up to the line.
Colonials are at midfield. Craig Quinn goes in motion to give up the middle to Dan Kelly, and he's got some running room and a first down. That's an 11-yard pickup for Dan Kelly.
Tackled by number.
Dan Kelly is a 6'3", 225-pound senior here at PW. He, as well as Quinn and Scott, are very hard to take down.
They're huge.
They are very big, along with being extremely strong.
Colonials are at the Upper Merion 39-yard line and driving again. And we're seeing that they're giving the ball to their running backs equally. James Scott with 3 carries, Quinn and Kelly each with 2. And Kupfer's perfect on his passing attempts.
1 for 1.
James Scott goes in motion. Kupfer gives to Craig Quinn. Quinn's got some running room. He's at the 40. He breaks a tackler. He breaks a couple more tacklers. And Craig Quinn's in the end zone.
Craig Quinn, great move. He invaded 3 tacklers there. Did a little fake move out to his right and just walked right in the end zone, basically. A 39-yard touchdown for Craig Quinn. Nice run. Nice quality run by Craig Quinn.
It's usually James Scott we expect the 40-yard touchdown runs, but Craig Quinn showing he's got speed and power. And it's already 12-0 with 2:14 left in the game. In the first quarter, excuse me, and the Colonials are showing that they can start off right where they left off last season.
I think they're going to go for 2 here. Try and make up for that extra point that was botched earlier. I believe they are, because Kupfer's out on the field and Matt Fold, the kicker, is not. So Colonials going for 2.
Colonials have Brown all the way out to the right. Quinn's also out to the right. Kupfer's back to pass. He's got his brother wide open for 2.
Kupfer to Kupfer combination. I'm sure we'll be seeing that a million times this year. Paul, I know, is working a lot on his short passing with his brother out in the backyard of their house. They'd go out there, they do at least 200 passes a day and just keep throwing and throwing until Paul would get it right. And obviously it's working so far.
And that play seemed too easy.
And we're going to take a look at the Craig Quinn touchdown. There you see, handed right to Craig Quinn. Broke a few tacklers, made a nice little move to big, and then cut right to his right, almost fell down. But Craig Quinn just keeps pumping the legs and going. Nice run there by Craig Quinn.
And it's already 14-0.
Quinn already has 2 touchdowns. We're not even 10 minutes into the game yet. At this pace, it's going to be another Villanova-Westchester route, like 64-0 like it was last night.
Well, we're not there yet. But then again, we're less than 10 minutes into the game.
Yep. Got to give credit to the offensive line again to open up a great hole for Craig Quinn. That hole was wide an airplane could have fit through it. It was huge.
And once they're in the secondary, it's tough to bring Craig Quinn down.
Yeah, small safety is not going to bring Craig Quinn or Dan Kelly down. And even James Scott just put a move on him and fake him out of his sneakers as Fold goes for the kickoff. Another low one for Fold. He's got to get some more elevation on the kickoff.
It's taken by Johnson. Johnson's looking for running room. He breaks a tackler himself. He's cutting to the outside. And Johnson is finally brought down at the 25-26-yard line.
Nice kick by Fold, but as we said, he's got to get a little bit more elevation, a little bit more height to get that ball back to around the 2 or 3 yard line. So defenders aren't getting good field position. Offenders aren't getting good field position.
I don't know if you can expect him to go down to the 2 or the 3, but if he can get it around the 10-yard line, he's getting the distance. He just needs a little more height, as you said, a little more hang time, but still an improvement over what we've seen in past years.
Definitely. And we haven't seen him on a field goal yet. Hopefully we'll get to see one tonight.
Desimone gives it to his fullback, who runs right up the middle, and Pete Paul picks up about 7.
Good run by Pete Paul. He's kind of like a PW running back, very hard to bring down. Once he gets moving, he just keeps on moving unless you have 3 tacklers take him down. Chuck Tornetta, CJ Scalfini in on that tackle.
2nd and 2 for Upper Merion at their own 34-yard line.
1:35 left to go in the first quarter, 14-0 PW. I'm Brian Rosenfeld, joined along with Scott Kitai.
Desimone gives back to Paul. Paul's got some running room, and again, it takes 3 Colonial tacklers to bring him down, but not before he gains 8 yards.
You know what's going to be tough for this PW defense? They're going both ways. Because you have Tornetta, Kelly, Cupford, Dugas, and that's their 4 offensive line. They're all going both ways.
Oh, definitely, especially when you haven't played, as I've been saying, for a while. Even practice can get you prepared to some extent, but it can't get you game ready.
Oh, definitely not. It's a totally different ball game.